Rhythm and Soul Radio. I am Marco Nobles. We have our virtual studio open, and I am very pleased to have stepping in the virtual studio to hang out with us for a little while. A gentleman who has been making incredible music and leading the charge for independent artists for almost 2 decades now, I believe.
Since
Um,
2004. Yep.
since yeah, almost a full 18 years plus, from love stories all the way to to the new single, which we're going to talk about. Frank
Yes, sir.
McComb is with us. What's happening, sir? How are you?
Hey, I'm good, man. I'm alive and healthy, so I'm in stock.
Yeah, there you go, there
Yes,
you go, there you go.
sir.
So let's talk about you've been doing so much. You continually making music, whether you're doing full albums or doing singles. You've stayed out there. It seems like every time you release something, you're nominated for a different award. You nominated last year for another Soul Tracks award. With the
Yeah,
single you did with Eric Roberson. Um,
yeah.
yeah, what keeps it going, and what is it that keeps it fresh?
Well, there's nothing like doing something you love to do, and there's nothing like getting paid for doing something you love to do. um, I mean, keywords, love to do. I love what I do. I knew what I wanted to do for a living from the time I was about 3 years old. I knew. I've never worked a regular job, and
Mm,
it's not to slight anybody that does, because without them, we can't do what we love to do.
right,
And that's to
right,
play good music and sell it to the people.
right.
So that's the real deal. So you got to forgive me for yawning. It ain't you, because I've been running, and I'm finally home from the road. And man, I tell you, I hustled my birthday week all last week. I was
well,
driving up down the highway.
Well,
I
happy
was
birthday to you,
getting
first of all. Happy belated birthday,
thanks,
first
man.
of all.
Thanks, man.
Uh,
Thanks.
and talking about hustling, because you've continually, done a lot of performances. You were always performing. Whether you were performing in full arenas or you're doing living room shows,
Hmm.
which you've been doing through the pandemic. But I think you started that a little bit before the pandemic. I seem to remember.
Yeah, I was.
You
Yeah, I
know,
was. I was doing living room shows way before the pandemic. Yeah, it just happens to be something that worked out for me during the pandemic, because I was already known for doing it. So
Right,
yeah,
right, right. What
yeah.
what was it that? Because didn't you also recorded one of the live albums that ended up being kind of like a recording from a living room show, or taken from the essence of a living room show, right?
Yeah, it was an album I did. Actually, it was a tribute to Donny Hathaway. It's called Live at the
Hmm.
Bitter End, remembering Donny Hathaway. So
Yeah,
when the late Kenny Gorka, who ran the Bitter End, and he might have been part owner for all I know, Kenny asked me to do a live record there, and I was like, yeah, I'll do a live record. But then I thought about it. Where am I going to get the money? Because I literally do everything myself.
hmm,
So
hmm.
um, I had a conversation with George Benson. He said, "Man, who said you needed a band? Go to New York,
Mm-hmm.
do it by yourself." He said Donny Hathaway had never recorded an album with just vocal and piano. So he said, "Go record that record and own that master. Can't nobody take it from you." And sure enough, that's where I did it. Live at the Bitter End. But it's the same place where Hathaway did his live record in 1971,
Right,
released
right,
in
right.
'72. Yeah, with
Hmm.
what's going on and the live version of the Ghetto, and yeah,
Yeah,
it was done in that same room.
right,
So
right,
because
right.
I mean, I was just gonna do just just my own live record there, just because everybody else, or so many other people rather, had done live records at that in that room.
Right.
But Benson told me, he said, if there's ever a time and place to pay tribute to Donnie, this is the time, and that's definitely the place. And he told me that he himself was in the room when Hathaway recorded that live album in '71. Yeah.
Wow,
So
wow.
I mean, if it's good enough for George, it's good
Right,
enough for me.
right, absolutely. Yeah, and
Yes,
what's
sir.
funny about that? I think the first time I saw you live was doing a Donny Hathaway tribute in Atlanta, if I'm not mistaken, which is probably this may have been like
Might have been.
98, 99, something like that.
Might have been.
You know,
Might have
uh,
been.
that was the
Yeah.
first time we got to actually speak in person, and then much later you said something to me that I thought was really interesting. You said, people don't pay me to play; they pay me for my time. Because I'll
That's the truth.
play all, I'll play all day and all night. But
You definitely had a conversation with me because I say that. Yep, you
yeah.
definitely talked to me. Yeah.
So talk about that premise, that they're really paying for your time as opposed to paying for you to play. Explain that
Because
to people.
playing, you see this thing here, I can sit here and do this all day. I love to do this. I mean, I love to jam. I love to record. In fact, I just wrapped up a vocal recording session right here at the house in one of my man caves here. I've got
Hmm.
a couple man caves in the house. um, so, and I'm just doing that for a friend of mine because he asked me to help him out, you know.
Mm.
And because I love to do it, I knocked it out for him. I owe him a favor anyway. It's a buddy of mine. You remember back when the volcanoes erupted and
Right.
we couldn't fly? Okay, well during that time I was touring Germany. Well, I was touring parts of Europe,
Hmm.
and my band at the time was Roy and Elmer Lewis. They were well, Roy's a guitarist, Elmer's a percussionist, and we were all part of they were all part of my band at the time, and those guys would play for me, and when the volcanoes erupted I was there, so those guys took me in and they
Mm.
fed me like a king, man. They fed me like a king because they're from Curacao actually, and they cook.
Okay.
Them boys and cook, and they cooked every single night and took care of me like because I'm like a little brother to them. So when Roy reached out to, and that was back then. So when Roy just reached out to me a little while ago, a few weeks ago actually, and asked me to
Hmm.
do something for him, I'm jumping on it. But it ain't
Right.
about the money with him because he had my back, and because I love doing it, I just knock it out. I knocked it out. It was done in an hour.
Mm.
So it's
Right.
fun for me. But when it comes down to playing concerts and traveling the whole nine, they don't pay me to play. I love to play. They pay me for all that I have to go through to get in front of the people. They
Mm.
pay me for dealing with what I have to deal with at the airport, carrying my gear. They pay me for dragging my gear because I take my keyboards with me on the road.
Hmm.
That's what they pay me for. They pay me to carry that gear. They pay me to get on the plane and actually have to deal with the mean flight attendants when I do come across them. You know, they pay me for the transportation, the ground transportation. They pay for the expenses. They pay for the
Hmm.
time it takes, but they don't pay me to play. I love playing
Mm.
for the people. Yeah, that's
Right.
what that
Right.
is.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
you've given the people a new single. We're made
Yeah,
for us. So talk
yeah,
talk
we made
about
for
talk
us.
about talk about this new single. And talk about the title. Which is a little bit different. Because most of your songs are love songs or some version of love, but "We Were
Mhm.
Made for Us" is seems a little bit different, just coming from a different space.
I like different titles. Period. Like the tune that Eric and I did, Eric Roberson and I did. I recorded everything on this tune and did all the vocals with the exception of Eric's vocals.
Mm-hmm.
And I called the song "High."
Mm-hmm.
Simply "High." You can take it any way you want, but
Right.
the song is talking about how your love puts me on in a whole nother place. So it makes me high, not an actual drug, but your love gets
Mm.
me high. So
Mm.
I like a title that just throw you off. So "We Were Made for Us." It's gonna make people think. So it makes them. I set up that way to make them want to listen to the song to see where I'm going with it. You know what I mean? I
Mm.
like songs that say something. I like songs that make you think. I'm not really with anything that doesn't stimulate my mind. So I want to be able to
Right.
give people something to stimulate their mind. And "We Were
Mm.
Made for Us" is about a couple who these two people were really made for each other because they've passed the test of time. They've beat all the odds that were against them. They proved the family to be wrong when they said you ain't gonna make it past 3 years. They ended up making
Mm.
it till they were great. They got
Mm.
grown
Mm.
kids now,
Mm.
and then those grown kids, their friends think they in love and want to tell these adults, these seniors, basically, um, how to live and how to
Mm.
love and how to. Man, we twice your age, man. We got the wisdom.
Right.
We've been where you are to, half our life ago. We were where
Right.
you were at.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
that kind of thing. It's a wisdom versus knowledge kind of thing. You get the knowledge from the books. I say it all the time. You get the knowledge from the books, but you get the wisdom from actually living the
Mm.
life. You get the
Yes.
wisdom from living what's in that book. And
Yes.
that book
Yes.
sometimes ain't gonna tell you what life got to say to you or what life has to teach you. That book ain't gonna give you all of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so it's a place from it's coming from a place of two people that have been through and they made it through, and you could look at them and not even tell they've been through what they went through. You know what I'm saying? Because they
Mm.
came out of the fire cold,
Right.
basically. They
Right,
didn't get
right,
burned
right.
up by life's obstacles. They beat their obstacles. You know, they went through it, got through it, and because they came through it with flying colors, they're looking great, and they're
Excellent.
still pressing on. You know, they
Right,
got their
right.
knowledge. They got their knowledge and wisdom from older people. You know, not from some young kids, from older people.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm,
that's been there,
mm-hmm.
done that already. So that's what
Yeah.
this tune is about. You know, they
Excellent.
understand each other's quirks. They understand each other's issues. They were definitely each other's soulmates. You know,
Excellent, excellent. Now, did I
yeah.
see that this single is like you shot your first music video for this particular single?
Yep, my very first music video in 30 years of being a recording artist. Yep.
Wow,
But see,
wow.
there's a story behind that, Marco. What happened was I was signed to two major record labels, and neither one of them treated me as an artist the way I should have been treated. You know,
Because originally
yeah,
you came. Well, many of us know you from being a part of a group.
yeah. I
Yeah.
started out with Buckshot LaFunk, which was with Columbia Records, but I
Right,
wasn't literally signed to the label. I was in the band.
right,
It was Branford's group, and
right.
another day he happened to take off and actually lead to the interest of me being signed to Columbia. So
Hmm.
I started out with Motown earlier than that. I started out with Motown in like '92. I moved
Okay,
to
okay.
California November 9th, 1992 on a deal with Motown. It was the Mojazz label, but they were bought out by Polygram for a whole lot of money. So
Hmm.
the little guys like me were totally forgotten about. So the late great Gerald Busby gave me the opportunity. He and Steve McKeever gave me the opportunity. And for those that don't know who Steve McKeever is, he's the gentleman that signed Jill Scott to Hidden Beach Records years later.
Hmm.
So, but Steve, he's a music guy. He's a good guy. So Steve and Gerald gave me the opportunity to stay or leave. They gave me the choice, and I chose to leave because
Hmm.
I don't want to make a career chasing labels. So I
Right.
left Motown, went out with Buckshot LaFunk through the '90s. Um, Come 90, let me see, from 94 to like 97, I was with Buckshot. 98, we recorded Love Stories, and it sat on
Hmm.
the shelf all of 99. So all of
Hmm.
99, I started out with Frankie Beverly, I think April of 99, and then May of 99, I hooked up with Shaka, and I toured with Shaka Khan from May 99 all the way up to New Year's Eve. And come 2000, I said I got to get this record out because I don't want to be a musician playing behind somebody else doing what it is that I desire to do from the time I was 3. You
Right.
know,
Right.
now I'm not knocking musicians. I love musicians and I love being a musician, but that's I wasn't supposed to stop there. That wasn't
Hmm.
my calling.
Hmm.
My calling was to be a recording artist who helped other people with his music.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so we finally got Love Stories out, and because of the internal politics at the label, they wouldn't push it. And
Mm.
I say in every interview, how do you give birth to a child and tell it to raise itself? It's impossible. You put the
Hmm.
record out and tell it, okay, we're gonna throw it up against the wall like spaghetti. If it stick, it stick. If it don't, oh well. But the spaghetti ain't gonna stick unless you got some glue on it.
Right.
Come on
Right.
now,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on now. So they didn't put the glue on it. They didn't do nothing to push the record. So, um, but the fans caught on,
Hmm.
and from there I hooked up with an indie label. I won't even mention because even bad press is good press for them. So we put out the Truth Volume One, and things just went sour with that label. So I just got tired of it. From looking at things from the eyes of the buying public. I went a major black label, then a major white label, then an independent label where I'm the only one on the roster, and none of them did right by this guy who sings like Stevie Wonder and Donny Hathaway, but plays piano like Herbie Hancock, George Duke, and Chick Corea.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I just couldn't do it no more. So I ended up hooking up with Prince after I released the album Straight from the Vault in 2004.
Right.
And come 2006, I'm working with Prince around that time, and he told me, he said, anytime you get, well, put it to you this way. He said, if a label comes to you and says they want to do a deal, only give them a year because they should be able to do everything that needs to be done in a year. And if they can't do what
Mm.
needs to be done in a year, use your Harriet Tubman escape route to get out of there. And if you don't have the Harriet Tubman escape route, then you've been signed to a contract, not an agreement.
Mm.
Yeah.
So I'm a big Prince fan, and many people who listen to
Mm-hmm.
the show know that. So I got to
Mm-hmm.
ask you about the experience of working with Prince. You worked with him for, I guess, a couple of years. You mentioned
Mm-hmm.
2006, and so
Yeah.
you worked with him for a couple of years. Talk about that experience a little bit. Not to get off track, but
Oh
I,
no,
I
no, no,
gotta.
no, no. No, you're not off track. Prince was one of the coolest guys to work with, at least from my experiences.
Mm.
I've heard all the horror stories. I've heard, and I don't knock nobody's story, and I'm sorry whatever happened to everybody else happened to them. But I will say from my own experience, and I think it's just a favor of God. I had a great experience with Prince. I
Mm,
did. I had a great experience with Prince. He treated me right. He paid me well. Paid
mm,
me very well. Um, but when it was just time to part, it was just time to part. But
mm,
I will
mm.
say my experience with him was really good because I learned a lot from him. One thing I did with him is I treated him just like I would any other musician. I talked to him like I would anybody that I either worked for or worked with. Um, I think that's what helped me to keep my respect with Frankie Beverly, Shaka Khan, my respect from those guys. Philip Bailey, Tina Marie, may she rest in peace, Gerald Levert, Fred Hammond, John Key, anybody that I worked with, I treat them um, like they're regular people. With
Mm,
Prince, if you came to him like a big fan, he didn't really have no love for you. He would just keep you at a distance. But if you talk to him like a regular person, he pour out the world. And I came in
mm.
talking to him like I'm talking to you, and he'll
Right.
talk your head off. He would have talked your head off, man, if you came to him talking to him like that. But if you come to him like you're a little god, he's gonna keep you at bay. And
Mm,
a lot of I've heard people say how close to him he was. I won't believe it because I was pretty close to him, but I wasn't. But I even wasn't that close.
right,
He
right,
didn't
right.
let anybody in.
He
So
kept everybody at a distance, but
you
yeah,
really had to be somebody special. You know what I mean to get
right,
in.
right.
So, but he was really cool. He was a little guy, not the slider, but a little guy who did everything huge. He did
Mm,
nothing small, nothing. He
right,
had a big mind, very big
right,
mind.
right, right, right.
And he told me don't be afraid to say no to something because that no could save you from a big heartache, a big headache, save you from being broke.
Right,
Don't be afraid
right.
to say no to a deal. You know.
That's that's just amazing to hear, and it's funny because last year as the pandemic was first starting to end, I had the
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to go to Paisley Park. So just to kind of see when you say you had a big mind going to Paisley Park, just to kind of
Yeah.
just seeing you know
Mm-hmm.
his vision and what he created and what um, the different rooms and the different spaces and what
Mm-hmm.
used to be the rehearsal hall and
Right.
what that is, and it's just amazing to think, and again, coming from being a Prince fan, you
Mm-hmm.
kind of take these we take these pieces wherever we can get them. So you working with Prince,
Right.
it's great to
Right.
it's great to be able to hear just a little snippet. But back to the video, your first
Mm-hmm.
video. So
Mm-hmm.
you were talking about the
Man.
fact that it's the first time you've done a
Yeah.
video in your
Yeah.
career. So continue on that journey because you were going through everything that was going on
Mm-hmm.
with you, and none of the labels you worked with
Yeah.
had deemed it
Mm-hmm.
important to put the support of doing a music
Yeah.
video, and then
Mm-hmm.
you're at the space where you have to do everything yourself
Mm-hmm.
from 2004 up to now. So
Now.
I'm sure that has a big factor in why there hasn't been a music video up until now.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's called money and support.
Right.
And see, here's the thing: the labels didn't do anything to even. Well, Motown never got the record out, so there was no video or music to service to radio or BET or anybody. And then with Columbia, I ended up having to go to Columbia Jazz because I did a 2 hour showcase for the R&B department, who promised to sign me but reneged on the deal. They reneged on
Mm,
signing me. So Branford Marcellus actually worked it out to get me signed to the jazz department. So I'm doing this great old school type R&B record for the jazz department. And here
mm.
comes the R&B department smelling like, what is this record? And the jazz department is saying, this is the guy you guys passed on. So no, you're not going to mess this up. So sure
Right.
enough, we get the record out and no video, they treated it like jazz, I guess, because there are no radio, no videos in jazz. But I mean, they didn't even like work together as a company to say, okay, let's get it back over here in the R&B since you guys recorded it, and let's get a song
Mm,
placed on. No, it's none of that. It was internal issues once again, politics, because there was
mm,
politics at Motown, politics at Columbia, and politics with the indie labels. So politics have
mm,
worked against me from the time I was in school, man. I was going to the Cleveland School of the Arts, and this
mm,
school, um, this school trained us to actually go out and do performances. And the director of the music department, just for some reason, had it in for me. There was another
Mm.
guy that played the piano that was there longer than me. Now, this school would get called from corporations to have us come out and perform for them, during their office hours, work hours, and that was our training. We would make our
Mm.
way to these shows ourselves. And
Right.
I was a vocal major, so I was in the choir. So
Mm-hmm,
the
mm-hmm.
Cleveland School of the Arts Gospel Choir, Cleveland School of the Arts Gospel Ensemble, I would go out and perform. But then there was a Cleveland School of the Arts Jazz Trio. And I used to want to take another set of musicians because this main guy that the director would give all the play to, you know, he couldn't be in two places at one time. And the school got called for two, like they got called for two gigs at once. So I
Mm.
asked the director, can you send me? I want to go. I've been wanting to play. And I'm like
Right.
every bit of like 16, I'm guessing. And I'm like, I want to go play. Let me get another set of guys and we go play the other gig while you go with the other guys and let them play that gig. I'll let you know. I'll let you know. He gave me that for like 2 weeks straight. I'll let you know. Finally, he told me when I asked him the last time, he asked me what I asked him. He said, the other gig canceled. Go
Mm.
figure. I was like, all right, cool. So I started playing in the bars with all the old guys, and they started embracing me. And then the musicians that were going out with this other piano player to play the corporate gigs for the school, they came to me and said, well, how come you don't ask Dr. Blah, 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 blah to go out no more? And I said, because what y'all getting a grade for, I'm getting paid for. Now, that's the
Mm-hmm,
difference
mm-hmm.
between getting it from a book and living it.
Yeah.
Your knowledge versus your wisdom. See, they got the knowledge from the school, but I got the wisdom from being out there in the streets. See, they
Right.
learn how to go and show up and play a gig, but they're protected by the school. You go and play
Right.
a gig, ain't no money involved. You get a grade. Me, I was out there at night with all the old guys, drunkards, knuckleheads, uh, skag chicks, the whole nine. So I'm getting a whole different experience. I'm getting the wisdom on how to deal with the streets and
it,
getting paid for it. So I
it's
figured, well, since you want to send me out, I go find it myself. But then I ended up getting the greater reward out of it because I'm here in
yeah.
front of you doing an interview after years of traveling the world
Right. And it's
behind getting that wisdom.
yeah,
So
and what I was
I'm
gonna
here.
say, it's almost like when you grow up playing basketball, you want to play against the older guys because you get a whole nother
You're gonna get a
level
whole
of
different experience.
knowledge,
Yeah.
and and learning how to play the game, and it seems
Yeah.
like that's similar. You get this whole
Yep.
nother level of wisdom and knowledge of how to
Yep.
play the game, doing music, and dealing
Exactly.
with an audience, and a paying audience,
Hmm.
and learning what
Right.
works, and all of that, and making sure that they're
Absolutely.
working with you.
Yep.
You know.
And that's what happened to me. The game of politics had been working against me from the time I was in school all the way up to the time I was dealing with the record labels. It just
Hmm.
followed me. It just followed me. But if I knew then what I know now, I would have learned it versus being so angry about it. I would have learned the game of politics. But that's what happens when you don't have somebody either in your family or in your life or around you, somebody that's older that could say, hey, 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 young blood, hold on a second.
Yeah.
There's a lesson in this. This is
Hmm.
what you got to learn from this. You got to learn this from that, and take this that you're learning, and apply this to your life. So when you get out there, you'll realize, you'll recognize this. You'll see this. You've seen this face before. You know what I mean? So that's what I wish. I wish I had somebody back in that time to tell me, hey,
Mm.
you're at the School of the Arts. This is the game of politics. They didn't teach me nothing about the music. This is
Right.
the game of politics. You need to take what nobody else, the lesson at this school that nobody else is getting. You need to take this lesson and apply it to your life because you're going to be signed to a label. You're going to need to know the politics behind that. You're going to be booking your own concerts. You need to know the politics behind that. You're going to be
Hmm.
recording your own music, mixing it, mastering it, releasing it to the public. You're going to need to know the politics behind all that. So, and I end up doing all those things to this very day
Right.
right now
Right.
for myself. But it took me to go all the way around the block just to go next
Yeah.
door to the house next door, basically. You
Right.
know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
So, but as long as I got it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, you
It
definitely
ain't how
got
you
it.
start, man. It ain't how you start. It's how
That's right.
you. I won't even say it's how you. I won't even say it's how you finish. It ain't.
Yeah.
It ain't. It ain't how you start. It's how you learn to play the game to have a great finish. Because it ain't
Exactly.
over with me yet.
That's
It
it.
ain't over
That's
with.
a great way to put it. That's a great way to
You
put it.
know,
It's Rhythm and Soul
I ain't
Radio.
finished.
We are talking
Yeah.
with Frank McComb. The single is out now. You know, uh, and it's on Bandcamp, right?
It's on Bandcamp. Now, We Were Made for Us is on my Bandcamp page, frankmccomb.bandcamp.com, but it's also on all of the digital outlets right now.
Okay.
And I tell people, and see, I try to school people all the time. When you go to the digital outlets, Apple Music, Spotify, all these places to stream or download, you get your music right away, but we as the artists don't see it for 3 months. But if you
Mm,
go to my Bandcamp, frankmccomb.bandcamp.com, BANDCAMP, frankmccomb.bandcamp.com, and download there, you get your music right away, and I see the proceeds from that in 3 days max. It's usually like
right.
2 days. So support the artist and not the system.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And we always want people to go direct, because
yeah,
this
yeah,
independent music is important and it's needed, and the artists need to be supported. So we ask everybody
absolutely,
to go as direct as possible. So go to Bandcamp,
yeah,
get the single and get some of the back catalog from Frank McComb as well.
yeah.
All that's
And you
on
know what?
Bandcamp.
And it's funny you say that because as an extremely versatile recording artist, I just released on my Bandcamp and re-released an album that I recorded called A Tribute to the Masters, December 1st, 2006. I released it. I'm not even singing on this record, but
Mm,
I didn't have the support to push it. But my cult following caught on to this record and loved it. I was kind of afraid to put it out at first. I was a little reluctant only because I'm not singing on it. But
mm-hmm,
man, so many people said they love this record, especially folks in Chicago. They said they love this album. So here we are now, fast forward to 2022, and I've decided to re-release this album as a remaster, and I've added music to it. And
mm,
I just released that on my Bandcamp, and people are talking about it. So I'm able
excellent.
to. I've been blessed to be able to release instrumental records, and for the smooth jazz crowd that love
Yes,
my instrumental stuff,
yes.
and urban AC vocal tunes for the R&B people that love my stuff. I'm extremely versatile, so why not capitalize on my versatility? I don't want to stifle myself. If I'm gonna hook up with a label or anybody that of that uh, in that arena, they have to let me be creative. I don't
Yes.
want to be stifled. I want to be creative, man. Instrumentals, vocals, and all these different styles of music, and I want to showcase my versatility.
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we let you go, we've got to talk about a little bit more about the live performance aspect of what you do. The fact that you
Yeah.
have performed so much, then and then of course the pandemic and now coming out
Hmm.
of it. So talk about the
Right.
adjustment period because there's got to be an adjustment coming into this new normal in terms of being
Hmm.
able to get back out and perform again and travel again, to get to the people doing what you
Right.
love.
Well, I've never had a booking agency. I've always booked my own work from the time I was 17 all the way up to 52.
Mm,
I've never had an agency. So um, from record number 3 to now, everything after the Truth Volume 1, all of that belongs to me. All of that
mm,
music is mine, my catalog. Um, the only thing COVID did to slow me down, not make me quit or stop me, but slow me down, is stop me from touring. So
mm,
when people had to perform in front of their phones, computers, iPads, to the people around the world, we had to perform to our fans in our homes.
mm-hmm.
For me, it wasn't hard to do. After watching everybody else drop the ball with their audio and the whole nine, I sat back and I watched everybody flub. You know,
Mm.
their systems crashing, sound is horrible. I sat back and studied, and I sat back so long that people were like, "When is Frank McComb gonna do something?" Don't worry about Frank McComb. Frank McComb's studying right now. If I come out, it's gonna be right. But sure enough, I talk with guys at Korg because I endorse the Korg keyboards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I got my name in this keyboard 3 times, man. I developed two Wurlitzers and a Fender Rhodes piano for this keyboard.
Okay.
Talked the company in the name and all the sounds after us. Me, Herbie Hancock, Jeff Lorber, Russell Ferrante, the Yellow Jackets, all of us. George Duke, we got our names in this keyboard because the squeaky wheel got the oil. I asked for
Okay.
it. Yep.
Okay.
So it's in there. You never know what you can get if you don't ask. That's one thing I had to learn
Another
all these
lesson.
years. Yeah, another lesson. So I work with Cork. I talked to Cork, and I talked to QSC because I endorsed their mixers and speakers, and they gave me some insight, on how to tweak my sounds and the whole nine as far as live. So
Mhm.
I was, having on my masters, I was able to pull all of the studio sessions out and remix some of the music. I mixed some of the stuff over so it would sound a certain way live, coming
Mm.
across the waves. And I manipulated the tracks to where, I'm not going to play acoustic on this part. I'll play electric on this part. So I'll take the electric off on the track in this
Mm.
section and I'll play. So I was able to manipulate it, take the lead vocal off, keep the backing vocals, bring them up just a hair. So I was able to do all of that. And
Mm.
I would go live every Friday night, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, 7 o'clock Pacific. Man, I was averaging 5 to 6,500 people every Friday. So for me, that's large.
Mm.
Having no support, none at all. I mean, literally no support.
Right.
So
Right.
it was taking off, but then the system started changing, and they started shutting us down, started muting our music. This
Right.
Yeah. Then it got ugly. So I just focused during that time. I just focused on doing videos for people. People asked me if I would do birthday videos for them. There were some festivals, virtual festivals, that reached out and asked me if I would record a video. So I was recording videos. I went and got
Mm.
cameras.
Mhm. Mhm.
Man, I'm self-contained. I'm so self-contained. I refuse to let anything and anybody stop me. I'll figure it
That,
out.
that
I've
is.
had to figure out my whole career. So I had to figure it out. Um, when when um when I did the album for Motown in '95 that wasn't released, the guy that produced the record was bootlegging it after talking me into doing the Truth Volume One with him. He was bootlegging it in the UK behind my back.
Mm.
And we went to the UK to promote the Truth Volume 1, and it's like 15, 20 people with a copy of that record I did in '95, and we're talking 2003 now. And he was selling a record in the UK for 25 pounds. At the time, it was 50 US dollars, and it was a CDR with an all-star cast on it. It was an all-star cast on this record. Billy Preston, Harvey Mason, Freddie Washington, who did Forgive Me Now, Patrice Rushen, Bobby
Mm.
Watson of Rufus, Tony Maton of Rufus, Branford Marcellus, loads of people on this record,
Right.
and he was getting beyond top dollar for it. So I figured if a donkey could talk to if God could use a donkey to talk to a man, he could use a thief to talk to me. So when I saw him do this, I said, okay, this is, if he could do it, I can do it for myself. So that's
Right.
when I put 12 songs on a CDR and called it Straight from the Vault. I hand wrote it with a Sharpie. Went to Cleveland, told my story, sold the whole duffel bag. So the money I made from the CDs, I put into making more CDs, and the money I made from the concert, I took care of my family with. And that's
Mm.
how I started my independent legacy.
Right.
Booby Scoot
Right.
Music. I named Booby Scoot after my daughter because my daughter was, she's my wife and I. My wife and I. That's her first child. That's our first child. So
Mhm.
she was a little toy to us.
Mhm.
And my little girl, like, we would put all the toys on the floor. We wouldn't even have a living room furniture. We gave her the living. We just put all the toys on the floor and just let her go for broke. And she saw
That's
a toy that
great.
she wanted, and she was just learning to crawl, and she was crawling to this toy to get it. And I was looking for a name for my record label. And every name that I took to the county recorder's office, back then we had to go to the county recorder's office. Every name I took to this lady, she said she was old. She was so old. There was a name she hadn't seen. She
Mm.
said, "Baby, I've seen this name. That's not gonna work, baby. You gonna need another name." All right, okay, fine. So one day I'm sitting down trying to figure out this name, and my wife is looking at my daughter crawl. She's trying to crawl to this toy that she wants. She's excited. And my wife said, "Oh, look at little Booby Scoot. Oh my God, look at little Booby Scoot." I said, "Bam, that's the name.
That's
Booby
it.
Scoot." And that's how
Yeah.
I got the name Booby Scoot for my company. BOOBEESCOOT. Look at little Booby Scoot. And that's how I got the name Booby Scoot. So I took that name to that old lady at that county recorder's office, and she just went on and gave me the seal without even running it through the paper first. She just
Yeah.
gave me the seal. "Here's your seal, baby. I ain't never seen nothing like that. I'm still running through the paper, but you got this." Yeah. And it's been
That's
Booby Scoot ever since,
there you
man.
go. You know what? That reminds me. Before I let you go, I did see that you just started an academy as well to help teach
Yeah.
young artists,
Yeah.
about music and help them learn. So talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that before we go.
FMIAI, Frank McComb Independent Artist, the Frank McComb Independent Artist Institute is it's just like any other, like, course that you would take. where I usually do them either at the shows. I try to set up something before the show or a day before the show, or I
Hmm.
mean, I need to go online and do another one, but I school people on the ins and outs of the game because it's really it's really a music game, not even really a music business, so to speak. Anybody can jump in the game and put out music. We
Right.
don't have laws to protect us. So I run this by all these people that may want to hear what I have to say, and I share my own story with them because you're talking to a man who's lived it, who's had to actually make a career with his bare hands. Who actually
Mm-hmm.
literally puts his own concerts together with his bare hands. I mean, I literally put it all together myself. And anybody that wants this knowledge can do private courses with me, or we can set up a class. And if there's anybody out there who wants that knowledge, you just send an email to me, fmconcerts@gmail.com. Or you can, if you want to book me for shows, fmconcerts@gmail.com. Um,
Right.
I also have a Patreon account. So it's like for $20 a month, you get backstage access to my life. I mean, you'll get to see
Mm.
video footage that the public won't get to see because I'm literally making this footage myself and uploading it. I mean, you get to
Mm.
see what my life is like when I'm traveling. You get to see what I'm like chilling at the house, tuning a Fender Rhodes electric piano, which is what I do. I was a consultant for the Mark Seven when Rhodes built that. So you get to see my life behind closed doors. So my hands are in a lot of things. So um, to find any and everything, go to frankmccombmusic.com. Everything is there.
Excellent.
frankmccombmusic.com. Everything.
Well, you are certainly the definition of an independent artist. It is such an honor to have some time to talk and hear some of the
Thank you.
stories and get some of the knowledge.
Thank
We
you,
Were
sir.
Made for Us is the single.
Yeah.
It's available
Yes.
now on digital outlets, but get it from Bandcamp, from
Yep.
Frank McComb's Bandcamp page.
frankmccomb.bandcamp.com. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
definitely do that. And the video is the video available yet?
Yeah, it's out. It's on my YouTube, and I forgot what I think it was Vimeo and something else. It's on a couple platforms. See, I'm
Okay,
not great with the video stuff, but I'm gonna find out where it's been pushed. I got a
okay,
buddy of mine that actually set it up for me. But definitely go to my YouTube channel, FMTV, the official YouTube channel for Frank McComb. It is definitely there. And
there you
follow me
go.
on everything. Follow me on everything. Get to know me.
Absolutely. Thanks again, Frank. We appreciate it. Definitely appreciate talking to you. Hopefully, we'll do it again soon.
Yeah, bless you, Marco. I appreciate it. Let's do it.
All right, it's Rhythm and Soul Radio. So we got to play. We were made for us. It's Rhythm and Soul Radio. Frank McComb. We were made for us.
Thank you.